You want to know the secret to becoming wealthy, even if you grew up middle class? It starts with unlearning everything you thought you knew about money. Most people think the key to wealth is making more money, but that's only a small part of the equation. Today, I'm going to break down the money rules. I'm going to break down the money mindsets that the wealthy don't want you to know. My name is Gavin McHale, and I'm a business performance coach. And that means it's my job to help you make the kind of money that you deserve. And I have a brand new book coming out called Consciouspreneur: What to Do When the Hard Work Stops Working. And most of the lessons in that book can be applied directly to your money mindset. And I have a free course that you can get right now by clicking the link below, getting on the pre-sale list for the book, and getting access to over 25 trainings that my high ticket clients use on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. So go check that out right now. Now, if you're ready to change your mindset, if you're ready to learn the money rules that the wealthy live by, let's get rolling. I grew up in a middle class family. We never really went without, but I often heard things like, we're rich in love, not money. Money doesn't grow on trees. If any of those sound familiar, these phrases reflect a mindset that is super well meaning, but it can hold you back from building true wealth, and it can hold you back from reaching the goals that you set because your subconscious brain believes something different about wealth and money. Let me be real here. I have not yet built what I consider to be wealth, but I feel like I'm on the way. And I think these notes can help you if you're struggling, because they've helped a lot of my clients. See, there are money rules that we were never taught. And to be honest, I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories, but a lot of people tried to keep these from us as well. For instance, were you ever taught how credit card debt works or the difference between an asset and a liability? I certainly wasn't taught that in school. What about using a budget system like Profit First as an entrepreneur? None of these were taught to us. Instead, we were learning hot cross buns on a frickin' recorder. It's garbage. So let's talk about the key lessons here. And there are really 3 steps to wealth. A lot of people will tell you this. The first one, step 1, is make money. All right. So this isn't what we're going to cover today. And you could literally find one of any thousands and thousands of business coaches online who can show you how to make money. In fact, if you don't know how to make money, go to Alex Hormozi's page and just consume everything there. But before you go, I want you to consider what beliefs you have about money. Your belief set was likely indoctrinated into you by your parents, by the adults you look up to, and by society in general. We call it societal programming. And if you grew up middle class, it all painted a very bleak picture around money. So I want you to ask yourself, you can pause this video and ask, I got a few questions here. What did mom and dad and other influential adults in your world say about money? What did they do with their money? So if they always talked about not having enough money, but then they spent it on frivolous stuff, that's confusing for your subconscious brain, especially when you're a kid, right? What was the overall rhetoric about money? Gas prices are going up, this, that, it's getting more expensive, all this stuff, right? We hear it on the radio and news all the time. What TV shows and movies did you watch as a kid? I watched shows like Everybody Loves Raymond and Friends that just totally depicted the middle class mindset, right? Wonder why? Because they know who's watching TV. Movies I watched: Richie Rich, Richest Kid on Earth, Super Lonely, Billy Madison, Rich Kid's Son, Complete Idiot, The Godfather. You got to sell drugs and kill people to make money, right? And the last question I want you to think about is, what do you think about rich people? When you see someone who's wealthy, when you see someone who's ultra wealthy, what do you think? For the longest time until recently, I thought rich people made money in 3 ways. Either they did some shady stuff like The Godfather, they were trust fund babies that just inherited all their money, or they worked so much that their families hated them and never saw them. None of those aligned with who I wanted to be. So I had to shift my thoughts around rich people if I wanted to make the kind of money that I wanted to make. So the answers to these questions are going to paint the picture of how you look at money and your subconscious beliefs around money that likely aren't serving you. And if you want to make more money, that's step 1. You've got to rewrite the stories in here that are keeping you from making money. Okay. Step 2 right? We said step one is learn how to make money. Step two, learn how to keep money. And this is where I faltered in a major way when I first started making money, and where most of my clients falter that grew up middle class. The main reason for people faltering is one of two reasons. Number one, beliefs. I didn't feel safe. It didn't feel safe for me to handle more money than I needed because I had never handled that much money. It was new for me. It was uncomfortable. And the middle class way is make money, spend money, right? You find a way to make sure that you're only spending as much as you make, because your income is often fixed as a middle class person. But if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, you're watching this, you probably have the ability to make more money. And the middle class mindset says, as long as you have enough in the bank to cover the bills, having more isn't necessary. Spend what you got. If you don't have enough in the bank to cover the bills at the end of the month, panic, start cutting expenses, just go crazy. That's the middle class way. The second reason that I struggled to keep money was actually systems. For a long time, I'd make whatever I made, then I'd spend whatever I spent, and then I'd hope and pray that there was enough money afterwards. And if any wrench was thrown in, big tax bill, something unexpected, I panicked. And this is where a simple system like Profit First comes in. I won't go over it, but you can read in the book. There's a book called Profit First, or watch any number of YouTube videos. Just type in Profit First and it'll teach you how to use it. I've got other videos on that. Essentially, it's a system that creates kind of like envelopes, electronic envelopes, so that everything has a place and all expenses are accounted for, like taxes, paying yourself a paycheck, operating expenses. Super simple and super helpful for entrepreneurs. One other way many people with middle class mindsets falter is not by not understanding debt. Okay. So here's the thing, and this is not considered financial investment. None of this. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a professional, but I know my experience. Wealthy people think differently about debt. I was taught as a middle class citizen, debt is bad, full stop. But that's not the whole story. Okay. The truth is, most wealthy people started out with a lot of debt. The difference is that they use that debt strategically. They leverage what's known as other people's money, usually the bank's money, to buy assets that make them money over time as someone else pays it back for them. In the middle class, we often think of debt as something to avoid at all costs, but there's a big difference between taking on credit card debt to buy things you don't need and taking on a mortgage to buy a rental property that will pay you every month and pay you over time. The latter is an investment that pays you back time and time and time again. So basic way that I like to understand debt tiers is to look at interest rates and return on investment. Interest rates are going to be the highest with credit cards. Then you have lines of credits, loans, and mortgages, depending on the time. Those could kind of flip back and forth. Usually lines of credit and loans are going to be prime plus one or two, and mortgages will be pretty similar to that. Okay. So if you can avoid taking on or holding credit card debt, that's ideal. Now, I'm not saying don't use a credit card. I put everything on my credit card. I just make sure I pay it off on or before the due date. Now, if you look at the other side of the coin, the return on investment, the question to ask is, will I make money back on this purchase? If the answer is no, or you can't explain it to yourself, then you ideally do not want to take on debt to make the purchase. You can still make the purchase, but don't take on debt to do it. But if you can make money back, it may make sense to take on some debt. And that's what we're going to talk about right away. So that is how we keep money. Now, step three, the final step in the equation, learn how to make money, learn how to keep money, and then learn how to make your money make money. Okay. You need to find a way to allow that money to work for you. Nobody gets wealthy off the back of their own work. There's only so much work you can do, and there's only so much you can bill for that work. You get wealthy, truly wealthy, off of what you do with the money you make, right? Which is why a lot of people will say, spend less than you earn and invest the rest, right? Invest it in your own skills, first of all, and then continue investing in your own skills, and then start investing in places where the money is going to make you money. Now, I know as a middle class citizen what might be creeping in. Isn't that greedy? And that was my first thought. Why do you need more money? That's a great question, and one I would encourage you to ask of yourself, just like you asked some questions earlier. How much do you need? When does it actually become a game for you? Because honestly, money is a game, but I understand that when you don't have a lot of it, it's all you can think about and it makes you worry. But when you get to a point where you have enough, it just becomes a game. And the more you look at it that way, the more fun you'll have with it. So, the first thing most people think of when it comes to passive income is the stock market. And honestly, it's a really good option. But any CPA or financial advisor can tell you that you're here for the good stuff, not the boring stuff. So if you've stayed this long, let me give you a hack to get you out of the middle class fast. First of all, buy yourself a piece of property. If you already own a home, that's great. If you don't, my suggestion would be buy yourself a duplex and live in one unit and rent the other unit to basically cover your mortgage. That would be my suggestion if you don't own a home. If you do own a home, listen carefully. If you've been paying down your mortgage for a few years or more, and you think your home's value has increased, which it likely has, especially through COVID, you can refinance your home up to 80% of its appraised value. This is an incredibly powerful tool for building wealth. Let me break it down for you. Say you owe $150,000 on your mortgage, and your home is valued by the bank at $400,000. The bank will allow you to reborrow up to $320,000, 80% of what it is appraised at, which leaves you with $170,000 in equity. That $170,000 you can use to buy another asset like a rental property. Okay. Of course, there's lots of other factors to consider, like your credit score, the amount of debt you have, all those kinds of things, and the bank will do that for you. But generally, banks love lending money, and they love lending money for real estate because it's a relatively safe investment for them. This is how my wife and I have been able to build a portfolio for properties right now. So here's one other thing to think about. So a bank, let's say Chase Bank. Chase Bank, if you say, I want to buy a house, and they think that house is worth $400,000, all you have to put down is 5, 10, 15, 20%, and they'll give you the rest. Think about this. Chase Bank wouldn't even do that for their own stocks on the stock market. They don't trust their own stocks on the stock market as much as they trust real estate. That's something to consider because banks don't go out of business very often. Okay. Real estate is a very safe investment for the bank, which means it's a very safe investment for you. And not only can it make you money month over month, but over time, it will make you tons of money as someone else pays down the mortgage. So we use the equity in our home to finance our first rental property. And from there, we continue to reinvest and grow our portfolio. It's not about getting lucky. Okay. It's about knowing the rules of the game and playing them to your advantage. So if you grew up in the middle class like I did and you want to become wealthy, start by changing the way you think about money and changing the way you think about debt. Learn the money rules that the wealthy live by and use them to your advantage. Remember, it's not just about making money. It's about keeping your money and making your money work for you. So if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel for more money, mindset, and wealth building tips. And if you have any questions or want to share your own experiences, please drop a comment below. We'll talk to you soon.